Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Hey, good evening. My name is Nathan Polsky. I am here doing the Libertarian Party of Texas candidate interview highlights. Today we've got Ted Brown, who's currently running for U.S. Senate as a Libertarian. He's running against Republican Ken Paxton and Democrat James Tallarico. With me in the studio, I've also got David Fight with the campaign support team. Ted, how's it going?
Well, very good, Nathan. Thanks for having me on.
Great. David, we got you on audio. I know you kind of joined a little late there.
I think so. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, I can hear you
Yes.
just fine. Perfect. All right. Format of the show: we are streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twix, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We've got anybody who's watching on YouTube or on X can drop questions into the chat. And if we have time towards the end, we can go over those and throw some curveballs to Ted, ask him some tough questions that have never been asked before. Um, we all know the current state of the government. We all know the current state of what's going on here in Texas and at the federal government. So what we want to do is we've got a series of questions that we'll be shooting towards Ted, see how he responds. He's not trying to get the libertarian vote. He's already got that. So now he's just trying to get everybody else in the state of Texas. So that's the goal for tonight, is to let everybody know what's going on, who Ted is, and get his message out. So Ted, you can go ahead and just start off and just introduce yourself. Who are you?
Well, again, my name's Ted Brown, and I'm running for U.S. Senator. I've been a Libertarian Party activist for many years, and it's very important to me to go out and promote liberty, to show the voters that there's an alternative to the sad, tired, old parties that have been running the country into the ground for so long. And that's why we need libertarians who are out there who are advocating for personal freedom, economic freedom, and a non-interventionist foreign policy. And I've done it before, and I think that's the reason I got into this race, so I could do it again in the biggest race, the biggest Senate race in the country, that will have a Libertarian candidate in 2026. And this particular race is very interesting because the incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn's already been defeated in the primary by Attorney General Ken Paxton, who's a very controversial and corrupt public official. And the Democrat is James Tallarico, who is a liberal Democrat who is much more considered more have more integrity, honest and decent kind of fellow, but might be considered too liberal for Texas. So they're both. The race is going to cost a fortune, for over $100 million each, probably. Watch your airwaves because you're going to see a lot of ads from these guys. But the point is, neither of them is a libertarian. Neither of them believes in what we believe, that standing for liberty across the board. And that's the kind of solutions that we need to put out there. And I intend to, during this campaign, to let people know there's an alternative and that they should support alternative parties like libertarians, especially libertarians. And there's no law that says they have to vote for Democrats and Republicans. And I think it's time for a libertarian senator.
Yeah, great to hear that. Yeah, and people sometimes get confused saying, well, I can't vote libertarian because I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. Well, that only holds true when you're voting in the primaries.
Mhm.
But the general election, that doesn't matter. You can vote for whoever you want up and down the ticket. The party affiliation no longer matters at that point. It's all secret. Vote for who you want, who best represents you. So yeah, it's very important for people out there. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get us kicked off. Like I said, we've got a series of about 8 questions. We're looking to do 30 to 45 minutes, depends on how long you want to talk.
Sure.
So let's get started here with question number 1. I'm going to toss it up on the screen here for anybody at home. So question number 1, what motivated you to run for U.S. Senate, comma, and what do you believe Texas voters are missing in the current field of candidates?
Well, I had run for U.S. Senator last time in 2024 against Ted Cruz and Colin Allred, and I had a slogan, "The Better Ted," because, of course, I was running against Ted Cruz. And in that race, I got a record number of votes for a Libertarian Senate candidate in Texas. That was 267,000 votes, and I was very happy about that because it showed that there was a constituency in Texas for the libertarian views of that we're trying to express here. And so I decided to run again in 2026 to build on that, to make sure that people that are politically homeless, that don't agree with Democrats and Republicans, have a place to go and have an alternative. And that's why I'm running in this particular race. And as it turns out, it's going to be a pretty wild race with with all this money being spent. And voters are mostly going to be hearing attacks from both sides, rather than hearing the issues that they're most concerned about. For example, the Republicans with Ken Paxton seem only concerned with like culture wars issues here in Texas. I haven't even heard Paxton discuss very many national issues that a senator has to deal with. He just wants to whip up the Republican base with these culture war things and insult Tallarico's manliness and call him a vegan, and it just makes totally nonsensical things like that. While Tallarico is trying to defend himself from that and actually run on issues. But of course, he wants to, he says he wants to pretty much tax billionaires more and certainly have a, more government involvement in the economy. But he is good on civil liberties issues. And I think he's more addressing national issues than Paxton is. But the point is, like I said before, neither of these guys are libertarians. They aren't expressing a viewpoint where human freedom, personal freedom across the board is the highest need here, because that's what we need right now. The public has to suffer through. It seems like the default position is for government to impose its will on everybody instead of to leave people alone. And it should be the opposite. People should be able to do whatever they want as long as they're not harming anyone. And the government has to really go through a pretty strict test to tell us that we don't have to, or that we can't do that. So that's why we need alternative points of view here.
Yeah, very important message there is don't hurt people and don't take their stuff.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Whoever came up with that a few years ago, that is a really good slogan, because that's the kind of thing they say you learn that in kindergarten. You don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. And if you lead your life that way, I think you'll get along with most people, and we'd have a very peaceful society. But government's there to kind of stop people from from doing that, because they're the ones that violate it.
Yeah, I've used that messaging out in public, and everybody seems to agree with it. Just don't take their stuff, don't hurt people. But when it comes time to go into the ballot and actually casting their vote, they vote time after time for the people that want to hurt them and take their stuff. So
Exactly, it's
yeah,
completely tribal. It's like if the red tribe is hurting people and taking their stuff, it's okay, but not if the blue tribe is doing it, and vice versa. So they'll put up with a lot from their own people, and they sure do.
all right. Question number two, we're going to kick it over to David to ask this one. I'm going to toss it up on the screen and let him go with this round.
Right. What are the three most important issues you would prioritize in your first term, and what specific actions could you realistically take as one senator?
Well, let me address the second part first about what could a libertarian senator do. Of course, a lot of that would be depend on the makeup of the U.S. Senate. For example, if I was like the deciding vote about who would run the Senate, for example, like when who would be the Senate leader, that sort of thing, and of course, perhaps they would they would try to curry favor and get my vote by trying to do some of the things that I would like to get accomplished. But other than that, a libertarian senator mostly would have to pretty much try to stop bad laws from being passed rather than try to get anything passed. Like President Calvin Coolidge said, it's far better to stop bad laws from getting passed than to pass good ones, because bad laws can really, really do a lot of damage to us. And that's
Oh,
been
yeah.
proven time and time again. We have plenty of, most of the laws that affect are pretty bad, but of course, some are worse than others. But as for issues that I'm mostly concerned about, Um, I'm always concerned about the economy. The national debt's $39 trillion, totally unsustainable. They just keep printing money, or they don't even bother to print it anymore. They just like do a ledger entry over at the Federal Reserve, and this is what's causing inflation. They're adding more money supply into the economy, and the average Texan and the average American are just getting further and further behind economically. People just can't afford. Basic goods anymore. And so few people even have like savings in case of an emergency. It's really tragic what's happened. It's
Yeah.
it's big government that's led to a lot of that. So I'm a big advocate of you have to cut the budget. I mean, there's just it's a spending problem. They just keep spending and spending and spending, and Republicans won't cut anything, and certainly Democrats won't. Republicans used to say they were going to cut stuff, but then they never did once they got into office. Once they were barraged with all the special interest groups out there. So
Mhm.
my goal is really the only way to cut this is it has to be across the board. Every government agency, program, department has to be cut, cut, cut. I mean, nobody can be accepted from that, including the Pentagon and especially the Pentagon. Those guys are completely wasting money and can't even pass an audit. We don't even know where billions of dollars have gone from their budget. So that's a good example there. Another issue that's come up this year that I didn't even think of previously. It's really important. And it's under the radar, and that's digital privacy. And it seems like across the world, like in every country, the leaders of every country simultaneously are advocating some terrible laws that would pretty much take away everyone's freedom on the internet. It starts out with limiting the age of young people being on social media, to age verification laws where everyone has to identify themselves to either go online or to use a phone or to use a computer. A variety of these kind of laws. There's more surveillance of everyone with like these flock cameras and other license plate readers around our cities, and they're proposing a central bank digital currency. Though who knows if they'll ever do that. The point is, though, they want to control us from birth to death digitally, so there's no way to escape from their governmental clutches. And not only will the government come after us, it's hackers will too, because all this information will just be, very unsafe for people to provide all this information. So it's my goal is to fight these laws as much as possible. There's several pending in Congress right now to take away people's freedom. And if we don't defeat these laws, and we're already losing around the world. I mean, we're cooked. I mean, our freedoms are going to be gone. They'll just cut off. There'll be social credit scores, and the government doesn't like us, especially libertarians. They definitely won't like us, and they'll cut off our bank accounts and stall our cars in the middle of the street with a kill switch and all this. So we really have to fight tooth and nail against in favor of digital privacy. And then finally, I'm very concerned with the end of the rule of law in this country under the Trump administration. And there's so many cases where basically there's governance by executive order. And of course, other presidents have done this. In fact, if you look on my website, I've cited, I think it's like over 10,000 executive orders in the last 100 years or so, presidents of all parties. But it's gotten really worse over the last like 25, 30 years on the executive orders. For example, if you remember back in the 90s, Bill Clinton created a national monument by executive order, and his aide said, stroke of the pen, law of the land. Pretty cool. Well, it's not. It's not pretty cool for a president to be able to do that. We have a separation of powers in this country. The legislative branch, the Congress, is supposed to pass laws, and the president is supposed to enforce them. The president's not supposed to make laws, rule by decree, et cetera. We fought a revolution about that in 1776, and here Donald Trump just makes all these pronouncements by executive order, and a lot of them stick even, and they really shouldn't have any force of law because they're not really legislative acts. So his administration is really taking so many actions since he came back into office to undermine the rule of law and just to say, just rule by decree by the executive branch. So we definitely have to oppose that, and I'm very much opposed to that.
David, you were looking to respond?
Oh, I think those are really good issues to choose from, especially given how the last 2 years has gone and
Mhm.
what people are really focused on leading up into this midterm. I think your eyes are on the right prize there.
Mhm. And of course, there's plenty of other ones too, but you'd ask for the top three.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of spending cuts, because you had mentioned that, let's gonna
Hmm.
go right over to question number three. So it's
Yes,
a good segue into that one.
great.
So the federal government spends far more than it collects. What spending cuts, reforms, or programs would you target first? And how would you explain those choices to Texans who currently rely on them? That's the kicker right there.
That is very much the kicker. That's very much the kicker. And well, as I was saying before, it should be across the board cuts, but we have to look at the big guys first. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, you got to cut this like this welfare program or something." In reality, a lot of those are not very expensive when you're talking about the overall federal budget. If you're talking about the big bucks, we have like a $7 trillion federal budget. With a 2 trillion deficit. I don't even know the exact figure. It's like massive. The one of the biggest items is the interest on the national debt. That's like $1 trillion a year. And you can't do much about that, but you can stop from adding to it. And that's why you have to balance the budget, because it's the unbalanced budgets, the deficits each month and each year, that are added to the national debt. So if you're going to try to put the kibosh on any more increase in the national debt, you have to stop deficit spending. But I would say the military. I mean, right now we spend over $1 trillion in the military spending. The proposed NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, I think has 1,150,000,000,000. Trump's asked for 1.5 trillion. I mean, where is it going to end here? And because of all that money going into the military, we're involved in all these, foreign interventions, foreign wars with our bases all over the world. But the point with the military is, it seems like Republicans, for example, they say there's waste, fraud, and abuse all over the federal government, which there is. Not that they do anything about it, but they seem to exempt the Pentagon. These guys, once you start talking about the military, there's no way there could be any waste or fraud or abuse. These are our soldiers, and all this. But like any other department, it's the government, and they waste a lot of money, and they cannot pass an audit. They're missing hundreds of billions of dollars of material and stuff, and don't even know where it is. So why should we give them all this money? In fact, often give them more than they even ask for, because the senators and congressmen want to sound tough and pro-military. This has to stop also. And then after that, subsidies to business, the crony capitalism. Uh, there's all these businesses that give contributions to our politicians, the big donors, because they want something from the federal government. They want either direct subsidies, or they want to screw over their competition, or there's various reasons they give all these contributions. And what it is it's very bad for the taxpayer, and very bad for consumers as well. So we really have to fight pretty much the military and the crony capitalism.
Crony capitalism, also known as cronyism.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And most of those politicians have cronies, all right, or they're
Mhm.
the cronies of somebody else.
True that.
All right. All right. So moving on to our next question. We're about halfway through here.
Mhm.
We're going to kick it right back over here to David.
All right. Ted, how would you protect individual rights and privacy against expanding federal surveillance, warrantless data collection, and cooperation between government agencies and private technology companies?
Very good question. And that's one of the big issues I was talking about earlier. So now I am not a big technical person myself. I don't understand like all the fine points about how all of this works. But what I do know is that government is always trying to get their digs in a little more. And around the world, it's even worse than it is here. But of course, our statists want to catch up to some of these other countries. For example, there's it's pretty much starts out with it's for the children. We got to save the children. We've got to put in age verification, so so teenagers or other kids can't see adult materials online. Then it goes to social media is harming our kids psychologically. So 16 and under can't be on social media. Well, that's the kind of thing should be up to the parents, not up to the government. I mean, the government should not be the parent. I mean, if the parents are kind of lackadaisical or they're like me and don't understand how some of the technicalities work, but there's plenty of options for parental controls on all these internet sites, and they don't even have to get their kid a smartphone if they don't want to. It's or a computer if they don't want to. It's really up to the parents to protect their kids. And when the government tries to do it, first of all, they're telling the parents, we know better than you. And secondarily, they're opening people up to all this surveillance and for hackers also. A lot of this information where they're trying to protect kids to learn who they are, to not know who they are, or to save them is actually just falling into the hands of bad actors. So uh, so we have to watch out for that. And some of these other proposals that have come up recently, like, well, not proposals, like, for example, surveillance of everything we do. For example, these flock cameras and other CCTV cameras around our streets that are sweeping up all this data of everybody that drives past them, including these ALPR automatic light license plate readers. And these are a total violation of our constitutional rights because you should be able to go out in public without the government getting all your data. So that's of course I think they should really, like, libertarians don't usually talk about banning things, but I believe these cameras and license plate readers should be banned from public places as long as there's no protections for the average person just driving by and getting swept up in these data sweeps and all. Then they propose things like the kill switch in the cars. I'm sure you've heard about that, where
Oh yeah.
starting in the cars next year, they want to be able to just cut off your engine if they think for the point of it is they want to stop drunk driving. So they want like some sort of camera in the car to look at you and see if your eyes are bloodshot or something. I don't know exactly how it would work, but the point is, though, if they can cut it off for that, they can remotely cut you off for any reason.
Hmm.
And I've been citing this whenever this comes up. I saw a TV show a while back set in the future where the whistleblower went to blow the whistle, and he was driving to do so, and remotely the government stopped his car, and then they locked his doors, and then the hit team arrived to kill him. So I think the future is now, because they would be able to do something like that if they wanted to, if they're able to control your cars remotely. So that needs to be repealed. Luckily, a lot of members of Congress and a lot of Republicans are seemingly on board for that one. So let's hope they're able to get the kill switch ended. And then there's central bank digital currency. A lot of people want that, where all your financial transactions are tied together and with all your records and biometric data. There's just so much of these things that go on and on about it. And we are facing a great threat on that. So the key is just don't let them get a foot in the door. They've already got a foot in the door. Just don't let them stick it further into the door until their whole leg is in there and they fall right into your house.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point when you said that, it should be up to the parents as far as the,
Hmm.
the social media thing. I think it's very telling how many people I have seen and just know personally who are
Hmm.
in favor of age caps on things like social media and cell phone
Hmm.
usage while their 12-year-old has a Facebook account and a cell phone.
Yeah.
And they are so incapable or like unwilling to tell their kids no, that they're trying to petition the government to do it for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if they're able to tell the kids, "Well, that's the law. We can't do anything about that. Sorry."
Yep.
But parents have got a parent, and if they don't, not only are their kids losing their rights, the parents are going to lose theirs. And so it's all the kids might have there's threats to kids online. I'm sure, just like
Yeah.
there's if they might see some bare breasts, they might get harassed online by a bully or something. But is that worse than spending the next 70 years of their lives in digital slavery to the U.S. government? I mean, come on, let's be real. What's the bigger threat to everyone?
Amen there.
I think I heard a good quote there is parents got a parent. New catchphrase.
They should. They absolutely should. I mean, my daughter is 33 years old now, so I don't need to do that kind of parenting anymore. But this was not as much of an issue. I think the iPhones came out when she was like, I don't know what, like 16 or something, and we didn't have those right away. But again, it wasn't so obvious right at first how everything was going to become even more automated and sophisticated over recent years.
Yeah. Digital privacy is big, and a lot of people are just like, if you got nothing to hide, don't worry about it, and just
Mhm.
continue on with their lives. And they apparently have never picked up a book, history book, fictional books, which are not so fiction anymore.
That's right.
1984, any of these other types of books that kind of foretold the future, and
Hmm.
were on the cusp of bleeding right into it.
That's right,
Yeah.
and people just don't want to recognize that. It's like as that ancient Greek statesman Pericles said, "You might not be interested in politics, but politics may become interested in you." And that certainly happens to a lot of people in this country who don't realize that they're in the crosshairs until they've been crosshaired,
Hmm.
and they're being
Absolutely.
arrested.
All right, let's move on here to our next question. This one, being a border state, is going to be resonate with a lot of Texans. So, question number 5: what is your position on immigration and border security, and how would your approach differ from both the major parties while respecting property rights and individual liberty?
Hey, a very good question, because Texas was ground zero during the Biden administration for a lot of people coming in across the border in a very haphazard and kind of anarchic way for several years, which really turned a lot of Americans against immigrants in general. And it was very, very sad. And I said at the time that, while obviously it's a good thing to welcome refugees who are looking for a better way of life. You can't. There was no good reason to have them like swimming across the river and climbing under barbed wire and crawling through the desert and all this stuff, hoping to find a border patrol officer to surrender to or something to ask for refugee status. They needed a paved road and a building and U.S. government employees to check in with. But it was just done in such a way that everybody was ending up in the same Texas border towns, and when they could have been going to every port and every airport and every border crossing in the country. What we really need is an easier way to come here legally. I think that's the problem. People say, well, follow the law, come the right way, do it the right way. And, all these people are coming in like cutting in line, they say. They're cutting in line and not following the legal process. But it's extremely difficult for anyone to come here legally, and more so now than ever. There's reports that's going not just to the Trump administration, but going back many years. People apply for legal immigration, and their applications are ignored. In fact, there's reports now that people have to pay for those applications, and they're keeping their money and just putting the applications in a drawer. So it's like currently the administration doesn't want any immigrants really, and it's so difficult for anyone to come here legally that a lot of them had gave up during the Biden administration and just said, let's just head over to the border and come in through Mexico or something and say that we're refugees. And it shouldn't have to be like that. They shouldn't have to pretend to be refugees when they're normal foreign residents who want to legally immigrate here and do it the right way. They just can't. And so that's why we have to make it easier. I favor an Ellis Island kind of system that we used to have up until like 100 years ago or so. How my relatives came here back during the prime immigration era in the late 19th century and early 20th century. And that's that they would come to the border at a proper checkpoint at any port or airport or the border, and just identify themselves, check in, and be checked out to make sure that they're not don't have criminal records, that they're not terrorists of some kind, not carrying contagious diseases, these kind of things. And they should be welcomed here if they meet all those criteria, and be allowed to work from day one. They shouldn't be on welfare. I oppose giving government taxpayer benefits to those folks. But they should be able to work and make a better life for themselves and their families. They shouldn't be like thrown out and refused and everything like they are now. And pretty much, it seems practically racist the way they're doing it, like how the Trump administration welcomes these white South African farmers. And so do I. I welcome them also. But that's all. He's only welcoming them and nobody else to come to this country. Everybody else seems to be frozen out. So I think as long as people are willing to work hard, do a better life for themselves and their families, families. Immigrants are a benefit to our economy. They are actually great. We're a melting pot country, and I welcome them. But it has to be done in a way that we know who they are, and that there's not some terrorist coming across the border with a suitcase nuke or something. But again, I think that's a very small number. Most people are not there to cause trouble. They're coming to make a better life for themselves and their families.
Yeah. And just like with basically any other government enforced prohibition on something, you have a higher chance of somebody coming over with a suitcase nuke the way that we're doing it now,
Oh yeah.
with the hyper control over it, and then people being able to sneak through and under tunnels and around border
Mhm.
checkpoints and stuff like that, than if we had an Ellis Island system where everybody was incentivized to just do it the right way.
Oh, exactly. And that if we had that system and somebody did not use that system and they were still sneaking in somewhere, then you'd know they were probably up to no good. I think it'd be
Mhm.
much more obvious in that case.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the come here legally resonates with a lot of people. Where there's are some people that I've met personally, that I've seen online, that are, we don't want any type of immigration. Period. We want to close everything down. But I think the majority of people are still going to be along those lines of, you can come here, just do it legally. So yes, make the process easier
Hmm.
and faster, and like you said, don't put them on welfare.
That's
Don't give them
right.
welfare.
Exactly, and then the immigration enforcement has been terrible. The activities of ICE over the last year or so have just been awful, acting like some sort of jackbooted thugs and secret police, masked secret police, just storming into people's homes and causing turmoil in the streets, like in Minneapolis and in other parts of the country. There's no excuse for that kind of enforcement. If there's a warrant out for someone's arrest, then you serve that warrant. You just don't willy-nilly go through a community and snatch people off the street and fail to identify yourself. Don't believe people when they say they're citizens. Just a terrible, terrible, like police state kind of actions on the part of ICE. And I think that's actually, in some ways, that's actually been a good thing to turn people against the enforcement mechanism, to realize just how awful it can get when these laws are getting enforced that way, and make people recognize, what, we need to be fair to these folks that want to stay here and are not causing any trouble, which is a vast majority of the immigrants.
Yeah, because it's not there. We're never going to be able to drop it down to zero. There's always going to be people that want to come here, and they're always going to want to find a way to do it. And
Sure.
especially now that all of the anti-American propaganda that's been pushed around the world is getting destroyed by everybody coming here for the World Cup.
Oh yeah.
You've got tens of thousands of people that just experienced Buc-ee's for the first time. We're going to have a much worse immigration problem.
Well, people realize how good we have it over here.
Mhm.
It's just about like all of America is richer per capita, with their incomes and everything than all of Europe. Really, even Mississippi apparently has a higher per capita income than any European country. So those folks can see just how things are over here when they come to visit.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have air conditioning?
Yeah, and then in Britain, it's like over 100 degrees now for the first time ever, and people say, "Oh no, we don't need air conditioning." Well, they're going to be like, they better be spraying themselves with water out on the street at midnight or something. I don't know.
Hmm. It's been very fun to watch some of those videos over the last week or two.
All right, let's move on from immigration. We'll kick it back over to David for our question number 6.
Right. What role should the federal government have in issues that are traditionally handled by states, such as education, healthcare, firearms, land use, and election administration?
Ah, okay. Well, again, the federal government has gotten too big for its britches, shall we say? It's become way larger than the founding fathers intended. If you look at the original Constitution, there are limited powers of the federal government. They're actually listed in the Constitution, what Congress can do and what the president can do. and all that. And then they said that the states were supposed to do everything else. Well, the federal government just has intruded into just about all those areas with no constitutional authority. If you mentioned education, there's housing and transportation and just about everything else. And so, I would certainly get rid of all federal departments that are not allowed by the Constitution. But this was something that you asked before, and we didn't. I didn't quite get to it. And you were talking about how to sell like budget cuts to Texans, for example.
Mhm.
And one thing I am concerned about, whenever libertarians propose cutting any government program or cutting any agencies, is you've got to give people warning. If you're going to do something like that, we couldn't cut them off like tomorrow. We need to like, give people warning so they can look for alternatives and know that they have to make other arrangements. For example, like during Doge, when Elon Musk was trying to get rid of like the National Weather Administration or something, well, that might be a good idea, but you've got to give a couple years notice so the private sector can know that they need to do that sort of thing. Just because the
Right.
government shouldn't do it doesn't mean it shouldn't be done at all. So that's something that I wanted to make a point is I don't believe in cutting people off from their like say if it's like something for their food or their health care or something like that with no warning and no chance to look for alternatives. So, and I think I got away and lost track of where the original question was going on that. What was the question again?
How should the federal government handle issues that are
Oh.
traditionally handled by the states?
Right, exactly. The big one that's coming up right now that the Republicans are really fighting for is for the feds to take over election administration. They have the Save America Act, and they're saying, well, the Democrats don't want people to show ID to vote. Well, that's not it exactly. That's not it. It's not like here in Texas where we have to show a driver's license when we go to the polls. I mean, that's not very intrusive at all. What they want to do, the Republicans in Congress want to do, is make it very difficult to register to vote in the first place. They want people to pretty much whatever you need to do to get a passport, they want you to have to do to just to register to vote. And that's very harmful because a lot of people just don't have the time or the ability to get all that information. It's not like that someone's like too stupid to get a birth certificate. I mean, some people just don't have them easily available. I mean, my grandma didn't have a birth certificate. I mean, she was born a long time ago, but I don't know if that's still the case out in rural America or whatever, where people are born at home or with midwives and they don't have birth certificates. You don't want to like disenfranchise people that have been voting forever. And that's what this would do. And also, their birth certificate doesn't match their driver's license. Where it's like women who've gotten married and they've changed their name. There's a lot of problems with that. And that's the feds just want to make it very difficult. The Republican feds want to make it very difficult for people to vote. There's really no need for any of that. Yes, we want only citizens to vote, but there's no evidence that that non-citizens are voting. It's like you can count them on, under 100 people in the last 25 years, I think. It just doesn't happen. It's like some sort of like, again, throwing red meat to the base, saying that all these non-eligible people are voting. And that's just not true. It's absolutely false. And I'm totally opposed to these federalizing elections because it's what's great about our elections is they are diverse, and it's so hard for someone to rig an election because there's like thousands of different election offices around the country. It'd be almost impossible to do something like that. But if one guy was running the elections from Washington, who knows what would happen? So that's definitely something that should continue to be done by the states. And if you're talking about like, you mentioned land use. Well, sure. I mean, it's bad enough for the states to be involved in land use, let alone the federal government. I mean, that should be private property rights. You should be able to do whatever you want with your own property, unless you're engaging in some kind of like nuisance or something to harass your neighbor or something like that, like putting a pig slaughterhouse in the middle of a residential neighborhood or something. But under just general uses of people's property, you should be able to do what you want. And we don't really need, land use regulations, zoning laws, and all that. So a lot of the things that you're talking about that the federal government is doing, that the state should be doing, really the state shouldn't be doing it either. These are a lot of these
Right.
departments, a lot of these things are leave people alone to do their thing and let the free market rule. Because usually it'll come out pretty well if you do that. It's not perfect. I mean, not every time, but most of the time, the free market is going to work way better than whatever the government comes up with.
Yeah, definitely agree with that one. Um, all right. let's see here. We've got two more questions
Mhm.
here. I'm going to give the next one, then David will finish us out. If you are currently watching on any of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, or X, if you have a question that you want to ask Ted once we get done here, if we still got time, we can throw him some curveballs out of left field and see how well he knocks them out of the park. So feel free to drop those questions into the chat. Again, if whatever platform you're on, we'll try and get them up on the screen, or we'll just give them out live.
Mhm.
All right. So next question here. So Texas has major energy, agriculture, technology, and transportation interests. It's a big state. What federal policies do you believe are hurting Texas businesses and families, and what would you work to change?
Well, I think that just in general, I mean, the regulatory structure where the federal government just imposes into all these areas certainly hurts Texas businesses and industries because, for all of its faults and all of its governmental faults, Texas is pretty business friendly. Of course, unfortunately, that also includes like crony capitalism along with, real free market capitalism. But the point is, businesses are more welcome here to do business. So basically, the feds should just stay out of it, and just like everything else they do, it raises the costs of everything when there's regulatory costs. It raises the cost of doing business when there's just about every aspect of someone's business is controlled by some law, whether it's at the federal or state level. But better to keep those as localized as possible.
Right.
Agree. Just keep the government out of it.
Absolutely, because well, see, we're the ones that always say that. Like, we need to default in favor of, of the free market, while the status of all parties, except for ours, say that it should default in favor of government regulating things, and it should. But so we're sort of just the opposite of the way things are supposed to or should be.
Yep. All right. Last question here. We're going to knock it over to David.
Right. Libertarians often criticize both parties for making promises they cannot keep. What would you refuse to promise voters, even if it might be politically popular?
Well, a lot of libertarian views are not like traditionally politically popular, but though some are. Some are, like, for example, I and other libertarians want the end of marijuana prohibition at the federal level and at the state level as well. And so that's something that's actually popular with the public. That's not popular with politicians of either parties. But even though I'm on the popular side on that one, I'm not sure if I could promise anything because, the moment I would propose a law to, liberalize those kind of laws, somebody who has some sort of special interest or just some sort of real stodgy reefer madness old timer like Dan Patrick is going to come along and just try to oppose that. So, I can't promise that I'm going to be able to get any like new out of the gate legislation passed, but I am going to like fight tooth and nail to stop bad bills from getting adopted. Like I said previously, it's really important to stop that because if a law gets in there, you can't really get rid of it. I mean, it's it's very difficult. Some terrible agency or some terrible rule or law or sentence or regulation or whatever it might be gets in there, you're stuck with it pretty much. So I want to stop that from happening. And it's probably easier to stop something like that from happening than to get legislation done from scratch. So I'm not going to promise any new legislation, though I certainly have plenty of ideas. But I'm not going to, have this glitter in my eye and say I'm going to get all this legislation passed. It's mostly going to be fighting a rearguard action just to save Texans and the rest of our Americans from the other parties and their proposed laws.
Yeah, how many
Yeah.
years now have Republicans promised to end property taxes, and where are we at on that?
Oh yeah. Well, see, they everybody loves the tax revenue, so they sure don't want to get rid of that.
Hmm. As soon as they get in office, they get told, well, then we can't pay for all the things that you want to do.
Hmm. Oh, that's exactly something that I wanted to bring up. So I was joking that whether Paxton or Tallarico was elected, they'd get called into the office, either of the leader, either Thune or Schumer, whichever the case may be, and they'd be told, the way things work there in order to get the proper committee assignments and the contributions and the good office space and respect to their colleagues. They had to pretty much go along with whatever the leadership wants. And I was kind of kidding about that. And then when I heard former Congressman Justin Amash's speech at our national convention recently, I asked him the question, or actually, no, I didn't ask him the question. He actually brought up this issue, and it's not that blatant. He said that they actually do that. They like take the new members to lunch, and they show them how much power and prestige they can have, and they really flatter them into it, like they're going to become some big shot politico. And but in order to do that, and they've got to go along with whatever the leaders want, and they get dragged right along into that. And that's certainly
Hmm.
the opposite of what I'm going to do. Because again, being a libertarian, I don't have any party leaders like that to report to. I'm going to be, a completely independent voice in Washington. That's certainly something I can say. I'm not going to be beholden to any special interest groups or corrupt party leaders or whatever. A totally independent voice for Texans and for the Constitution. And there's certainly nobody really up there, well, barely anybody up there that does anything like that.
Yeah, you'd be able to elect yourself into your own party leadership. You
That's
you
right.
would be the minority leader.
It'd be great if there were more than one of us. I mean, if I were to be elected, that would probably mean that something's up. Maybe we'd have two or three more libertarians elected to the Senate. And we've got some great Senate candidates around the country, like Thomas Lane in Iowa, for example, uh,
Mhm.
and some others. And if we got a few of us elected, we could really that's when we can maybe get something going. But just me as one guy, I'm just going to be fighting. One thing is there's the Senate. The Senate has all these rules where one senator can actually cause a lot cause a lot of turmoil there if they want to. I remember when Senator Tuberville was holding up military promotions, and nobody was saying, "Well, why in the world could he even do that?" But yet he could. So if I could do anything like that, like hold up nominations or legislation or object to this and put a hold on that, there's all these rules where senators have this, treat each other courteously and are given all this wide berth. Well, I'm going to try to do it.
There you go. I love it.
All right. All right. So that was the last of the questions that we have. Looking over here in the chat, I don't see any.
I've got one
Oh,
more.
I do have. Oh, you have another question?
You go first because mine's a better wrap up. Like, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a question here from Bola. Question scenario: the votes are in. You
Mhm.
win. Get sworn in and fast forward. It's now day one of your term. What's
Mhm.
your first item of business?
Well, of course, leading up to that, I will have gotten my office organized and tried to have my aides on hand and everything. But I really would need to get some advice from someone who knows what's going on up there. And probably the only person I could talk to would be Senator Rand Paul, even though he is more of a conservative Republican, but at least he has some sympathy to some libertarian views. So I probably would ask him for some advice. But first thing out would be. They'll probably start right into some sort of proposals that are designed to violate people's rights. And the way the leaders often do, they're ready to go. They have some bill that's already been written by the leadership, and they're going to put it up there for a vote, whether anybody's ready or not, or anybody had a chance to read it. So, I got to be ready to hit the ground running and to oppose the bad stuff. And but theoretically, there could be some good stuff. I'm not going to be a completely negative influence. If there's, I'll work with anyone to do good and no one to do bad, as Frederick Douglass said. If there's some Democrats maybe that want to do some marijuana legislation or civil liberties, I'm willing to work with them. And if there are any Republicans that really want to, cut the budget or cut regulations, I'm willing to work with them. But I'm not holding my breath. I'm going to be considered somebody that everybody's probably going to want to shun because I want to put a damper on all of their shenanigans up there.
Oh yeah.
All right. So before we go here, you do have a website, and I just wanted to pull that up real quick. Looks like it is tedbrown.org.
That's
Uh,
correct. Yes.
a little thing here at the bottom. So is this the best place for people to go to find out more about you?
It sure is, tedbrown.org. You can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook. There's the links on the website. And I post a lot, of promoting liberty. But yeah, on the website, there's a lot of position issues in there, and there's some other previous shows I've been on. There's some, some of my favorite quotes by people from the, great Americans in the past there. So yeah, take a look and contribute also. The definitely need all the help I can get in a race like this. It's hard to compete with the people that are spending $100 million, but yeah, every little bit helps.
Yeah,
So
that
for
is
people that have been watching this interview and they go, "Oh my gosh, Ted sounds awesome. I can't wait to be able to volunteer or donate to his campaign and help him succeed." What are some things that you're looking for out of volunteers, and how can people help by joining and donating?
Oh, well, they're welcome to contact me for information like that. I do have a campaign manager, and we're working on that sort of thing. And so, yes, we might need, the yard signs are going to be delivered tomorrow, I think. So those are going to be available. We're going to certainly need people to, go out and campaign, and, we just haven't determined exactly how this is going to be done yet. So, but yeah, let me know if you can do anything, or what you're able to do, what you're willing to do. And, there's like contact info on the website.
perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Ted. I don't have anything else here. David, you said you had another question that you wanted to use to close
That
out.
was my last question.
Oh, perfect. Ted, is there anything else you wanted to say, mention? Do you have any upcoming meets that people can go and see you in person?
Yes. In fact, on Thursday night, well, I'll say the date because we're, online here. It's on Thursday, June 25th in New Braunfels, Texas. There's a big to-do there with myself, Pat Dixon, who's running for governor, and Anthony Cristo, who's running for lieutenant governor. We're having a reception at the Dos Rios Mexican Restaurant, 6:30 p.m. in New Braunfels, Texas, which is between north of San Antonio and south of Austin.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you again, Ted, for hopping on. Thank you, David, for co-hosting on this.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thursday, speaking of Thursday, we will have another candidate interview. We have Clyde Garland out of Brazos County. He's running for district clerk as a libertarian. So look forward, same time, 7 o'clock. Then tune in to all three of our platforms. We'll have a series of questions for him as well. And then we've got, I know we've got Pat Dixon is scheduled, I think, in a couple weeks, and a few other people as well. So if you aren't already following on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, click the like, click the subscribe, get notifications for when these things go live, and check out who the libertarian candidates are going to be in Texas and why you should vote for them. Well, I'm done for the night. So thank you guys for joining, and we will see everybody later.
Great. Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thanks
night.
again, Ted.